switch it up. We can switch it up. Switch it up like it's about to go up, break them like internet. Goofies run up, we leave them in the dead. You know how it go down.
You say, okay, I have a lot of money, but you have no money unless you take profits.
When the first ever spot ETF was created for gold 10x.
And the only thing I really knew was Bitcoin at the time, so I just invested very heavily into that. Rode it all the way up.
What that taught me was that I need to be self-sufficient.
Even the creators have said it's going to be the predecessor of CBDC.
Of course, don't invest more than will keep you up at night, but a solid DCA investment strategy, and pretend the red sell button doesn't even exist.
We about to go up like.
Alrighty. Hello and welcome to the Degenerate Roundtable, where we talk a lot of shit and we do a lot of degenerate things. So, my name is Nate. I'm here with Taint. We got Jay over there, Willie, Dace, and Jeff. And we're here to talk today actually about shitcoinery. I know that last week we were talking about how, yeah, we got this perfect storm coming and everything. We've actually got some more information that we actually want to compile into that. So we're actually going to be skipping that for next week, right? But as of this week, you know, sometimes we oftentimes get a lot of guys who are just getting wrecked. They go into, you know, a certain coin. They're like, oh, it's going to the moon. It's going to the moon. And then next thing you know, red candles all the way down. And then they feel bad. And you know what? I lived that life for 2 years. I'm not even going to lie. People sit there and they shill things, right? So when it comes to buying shit coins and actually getting to that moon, getting those getting those green candles, right? We're just going to kind of go around the table and we're going to be talking about what it is that we kind of do about that. However, of course, like always, the first thing that we're going to be doing is a market update with technical analysis. And so I'm going to go ahead and hand that one over to Jay. And yeah, let's having a good time.
All right, guys, give me a second here so I can share my screen. Before I start, like always, I just want to preface it for our audience that nothing on this podcast is financial advice or should be taken as financial advice. What we're going to show you in the charts and what we're going to talk about here in terms of news, that is our own subjective personal analysis of both the price action on the charts and the news, right? Don't take anything that we say here as gospel. Always do your own research. Do not trust ever. Always verify the information that you receive, whether it's from us or other sources, because you want to be able to become independent, right? You don't want to just rely on us or anybody else for your financial well-being. So as usual, not financial advice. And let's go ahead and get to the TA portion. We're going to do a little market update here for Bitcoin. Let me share my screen here. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second here, guys. There it is. Let me know if you guys can see the screen right here. That should be my Bitcoin chart.
Good to go.
Fantastic. All right, so we are currently on day 17 of our new 60-day cycle. And Bitcoin for the past week has done a whole lot of nothing. If you notice here, for about 7 days or so, we've just been crabbing sideways, hovering around this area of resistance, right about at 31,000, crabbing sideways in between this channel. Now, luckily for us, Bitcoin has already reclaimed both the last cycle high and the cycle high prior to this one as well. And so the market sentiment right now is pretty much either crab to positive. Unless we get significant amount of negative news within the next few months, I personally believe that we are going to be heading up into Bitcoin's wave 3. Now, if you guys have been paying attention to the news this past weekend, it it wasn't BlackRock. It was actually the SEC, right? SEC came out with a statement saying that, hey, you know, the Bitcoin spot ETFs that you guys filed for, well, it was inadequate. And so usually you would think that that would present a significant downwards pressure on the market. And for a little bit it did, right? People started panicking because price went down to below 30,000. But it was bought up pretty quickly. And so even with the SEC kind of taking the initiative and telling everybody, look, we're probably going to delay our verdict for as long as we possibly can, or at the very least, we're going to delay it past the initial 45-day deadline, the market didn't really react negatively to that news. And so for me, that's a sign that says we're pretty much on the way up, right? Now, Bitcoin has regained quite a few prices that tells me we are going to be heading up. Like I said, we reclaimed the cycle high from 2 cycles ago. And so what is our next target? Right? For Bitcoin, if we do a fib retracement from our all-time high, you can see that the next level, the next target that we need to hit is around this $36,000 area, right? And that's the 0.382 fib level if you take a retracement from our all-time high, right? The 0.382 fib level is important because it is think of it as a leading indicator, right? Once price has recovered this 0.382 fib level, it gives you a great deal of confidence that the momentum is starting to shift, or in this case, the momentum is trying to, the price is trying to reverse back to its upward momentum, right? Because we have had higher highs and higher lows ever since January of this year. We did pull back for a little bit for the past 2 months during the months of April and May after our $31,000 high here, but Bitcoin moving up and trying to regain this 0.382 level is a good sign that momentum is trying to shift back to the upside, right? And so keep an eye out over the next few weeks for this $36,000 area, because this is our next target goal for Bitcoin. Now, as far as how far can we expect this move to continue? Well, we know that for those of you who are familiar with Elliott wave analysis, we know that the wave 3, at the very least, has to match the percent gain of wave 1. And so from our bear market lows here to the very top of wave 1, that's about a double, right? And so if we were to assume that the low for wave 2s are in, and I'm pretty confident, right? I'm pretty convicted in the fact that the wave 2 lows are in, 100% increase from the bottom of our wave 2 is around here, the $50,000 area. And so at the minimum, I expect Bitcoin to head up to 50,000 for its wave 3. Now, whether that happens this year or sometime next year is yet to be determined, right? We're really going to have to see if, for example, if JP decides to pause the rates for another month or so, then the likelihood of Bitcoin heading up to that $50,000 area becomes more likely. But as usual, let's not get ahead of ourselves, right? I know hearing that $50,000 number can give people a lot of hopium, but let's focus on acquiring key price levels first before we get to our moon targets, right? And so over the next few months, heading into July and August, let's look for Bitcoin to reclaim this $36,000 area first, this 0.382 fib level, before we start focusing on higher price targets, right? I always tell people when you're performing technical analysis, It's okay to have these moon targets, right? But don't get ahead of yourself when you're doing TA, right? Always focus on the next price target that an asset has to recover before you start getting too excited. Because if you completely blur out this $36,000 area and you're hyper focused on getting to that 50K level for this year, and it never happens, you're not going to be able to pivot and change your plans around when things don't go your way. So as a technical analyst, you always need to be adaptable, and you always need to be adapting with the news. And so,
Jay,
what's up? Go
just
ahead.
to add on to that, I thought that was absolutely amazing. It's really, especially when you're working with like shitcoins and stuff, it's incredibly important to understand, hey, yes, you've got these levels, right? You got the, oh, it's just fine, whatever, maybe at least I didn't lose money, but I just got out at the same amount as I put back in, versus like, oh yeah, that's going to pump to the moon, right? That's usually what gets people wrecked. And to have that expectation right off the bat is not a good thing. So great point there.
Yeah, for sure. And when you're looking at prices, the reason why it's so good to practice your TA is because it gives you a broader perspective, right? It gives you a view that the general investor, right, the people that exist in the middle of the bell curve, that they're not going to see. For example, I believe it was Friday when the SEC, it's perfect, right? It was on Friday when the traditional markets closed. They announced that the ETF, the documents for the BlackRock ETF filings, and as an extension, everybody else, right, was inadequate. And everybody started panicking when Bitcoin started selling off and wicked down below 30,000. But for me, as a technical analyst, I'm like, well, okay, so we wicked down below 30,000, but it was bought up immediately, right? And $30,000 was just like, it was right around Bitcoin's 10-day moving average, and it didn't even close above that. And then you see, people get so hyper focused looking at short-term price action, right? The daily is a good chart to look at, but even people who are looking at the daily can start to panic. If you look from a macro perspective, right, always get into the habit of, look, if I'm going to analyze a daily chart today, get into the habit of looking at the weekly and looking at the monthly charts too. Because if you take a look, I'm going to switch over here to the weekly charts, okay, just to give you a big, broader perspective. You see this long-term trend line right here? Well, that trend line hasn't been broken. We've touched it a few times, but even here on the weekly, we've only spent 2 weeks out of this whole year below this 20-week moving average for Bitcoin, right? It has not since what? This is since January, since near the beginning of the January, right? Bitcoin has not even touched this long-term upwards trend line. And so if you're looking at this from a macro perspective, right, and not just from a daily or the degenerate like hourly candles, you'll see that, so what if it broke $30,000? It's nowhere near close to breaking this trend line, right? And then if you're looking at it from the weekly perspective, look at this Chad fucking weekly candle, right? You notice this whole wave 2 lasted us about 2 months. But this weekly candle 2 weeks ago basically canceled out 2 months of downwards price action in 1 week. Even better if you look at it from the monthly perspective. Right, this was July right here. We're in June. This is July. June's monthly candle was an engulfing candle engulfing both May and April. Right? And so as a technical analyst, if you want, right, again, we tell people always never react with emotion when you're within this market. But when you have a visual like this, especially from a macro perspective, it keeps you even more level-headed. And it prevents you from reacting emotionally like all of the other people within the market usually do. All right, so that's it. That's all I really want to say on this subject, and pretty much for Bitcoin. Like I said, let's focus on reclaiming that 0.382 level first at $36,000, and then we can focus on the higher price targets, right? If, like I said, if we get a real lot more bullish momentum over the next few months, then Bitcoin has a higher likelihood of reclaiming that $50,000 area, right? But let's focus on 36K first, right? Let's focus on recovering that 0.382 level first, $36,000, and then we can move on to the next targets, right? That's all I had pretty much to say for Bitcoin. I'm going to throw it over to Josh because I know he probably has a few things to say here and there as well.
All right. I just have a couple things. Good presentation as always. Just bear with me real quick. I'm going to share my screen as well. Okay, here we go. So just a couple things. So the first thing that I wanted to point out, this is just something that I took notice of. I'm always looking for bearish and bullish divergence and stuff like that. So what's interesting is we did make a new top off the April high, but if we take a look here at the RSI indicator, it's somewhat trending down. I don't know, I see that, and I think that maybe some of the sentiment of the BlackRock, the excitement that was centered around that BlackRock candle, maybe it's starting to expire. It really leads me to believe that we might need some additional bullish sentiment in the market to see at least another green candle. I'm not saying that we need more bullish sentiment in order to keep seeing the price go up, but in order to see another engulfing candle like that, we need some pretty strong news. But we're living in a world now where news came out last week, and a week later it's already starting to become pretty much obsolete. So that's just something that I noticed. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. And something else that I did notice, because I'm all about channels and how channels form and stuff like that, is since we're coming off the low of the last cycle, we do have what seems to be a pretty solid defined upward channel that we've been coming into. So if you see, we were coming down to the bottom of that channel, and then it was that big green engulfing BlackRock candle that really shot it back up to the halfway point. What's interesting is if you turn on the Bollinger Bands also, we can see, let me hide some of this stuff here. We can see that the price was coming down, and boy, you want to talk about the month of June, it was the tale of two stories. going into the middle part of June, sentiment was looking down. Prices was trending down, and then BlackRock came out with their announcement, and it shot the price up to a new high. But if you can see, it was coming down to that middle of the Bollinger Bands, and then it shot it right back up to the top. What's good to see is that the Bollinger Bands are starting to tighten up a little bit. So I think more trajectory upward is in the future. But I think a little bit more bullish sentiment is going to be needed. And if we want to see the big gain that we saw in the middle of June. Other than that, I mean, great TA. And yeah, I mean, we're ultimately, it's a new month. We'll see what this month will do. If we take a look at the candles, let's take a look at the last four. So if we come back here, the beginning of June, we started it with two red candles, two red weekly candles, and then we've had three green candles to close out the month. So it's definitely looking good. It's definitely trending with our analysis that the bottoms are in, that we are on to the next cycle. And yep, kick it back over to either Jay if he has any additional comments, or back to you, Nate, or however you guys want to do it.
Quick question for you, Josh. You mentioned bullish divergence. Can you give our audience a brief overview of exactly what a bullish divergence is and why it's important to know what that is and what indicators to use in order to spot it?
I would absolutely love to do that. I will say this, stay tuned to the channel. We're going to be putting something out about that this week. We're going to dive into it. I don't want to take away from the content of the show, but that's a great question. Stick around. I'm not going to answer that now because we're going to have some good content that we're going to be putting out. this week to be able to explain that a little bit. So great question. But yeah, be looking out for that this week.
All right, awesome guys. Y'all are amazing with that. So yeah, I'm more of a fundamental guy. So for me, a little bit of that was kind of like Chinese, but it is what it is. Alrighty, so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into this now. Basically, again, you guys, when you're going through shitcoins and all that, you need to be careful. Don't get yourself wrecked. There is a lot of pump and dump scams when it comes to this sort of thing. So let's go ahead and start getting into exactly what it is we're looking for and all of that. But before I do that, I do have one more thing. We have a new guy here that needs to be introduced. So Willie Billy, how are you doing today, and kind of what's going on?
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, Nate. Yeah, great job, you guys, with your TA, man. I figure, you know, you got your TA, you've got your FA, right? You've got your on-chain analysis, and then what I pretty much focus on myself is I would call it sentiment analysis. You know, which way the wind is blowing in the memes as a indicator of market sentiment. Of course, I learned that from old Charlie there. But yeah, man, this is a great group, you know, full of Giga Chads, and I'm happy to be a part of it. You know, you guys have helped me a lot in these last few months in our chat, kind of stay on track and kind of pull my head back out of the toilet of meme degeneracy to some respect. And I feel like, you know, the launch of Pulse Chain was at a great time too, where, you know, we were all just kind of listless, and it gave us a lot of direction and focus to our degeneracy, so that we could wield, you know, the powers for good and not for evil. So, you know, overall, you know, man, I've been in the market here for about a year and a half. You know, I got in, January 2022. And basically, I've been buying as it's been just going down and down and down and down. So I didn't buy the top. That's one thing. If I had been in 6 months earlier, I probably would have bought the top on everything. But you know, I've watched my portfolio basically just trend in a downward direction for over a year, until the meme season basically gave me that little breath of life that I needed to keep my head above water. And now, you know, with the opportunities with Pulse Chain, like I said, I've come down to earth with it a little bit. But not to say there isn't a time and a place for degeneracy when it comes to, you know, speculative short-term investments. But you know, I try to practice the, you know, use 10% of your total bag if you're going to you know, explore meme coins and different short-term speculative. Of course, we all know the way to get rich in crypto is to buy and hold, you know, good projects for multiple years. But again, if you're going to gamble, if you're going to, you know, get into these speculative meme coins, yeah, you use about 10% or even less. At times, I've even scaled that down to 1%. It really depends on your total value of your portfolio, how many zeros you're working with, and you know what your risk tolerance is at any given time. Which I noticed for myself, my risk tolerance has changed at times, you know. But I try to base that on some sort of reason and not just, you know, of course, emotion, which will get you wrecked. And so, you know, trying to pay close attention to all the streamers, pay close attention to everything Charlie and DCC are saying on the weekly, kind of read through the lines, because they can't really come out and say, well, you know, this is the move, guys. They've got to, you know, kind of do a little bit of a workaround. So you got to really read between the lines. But yeah, I mean, overall, you know, it's a great group, and I'm happy to be a part of it. You know, we all have our own experiences, but collectively, I think we're actually onto something.
Yeah, very well said. See, that's something that's so vitally important, right? I myself do a little thing called like, hey, this looks like a meme that can kind of shoot off, right? So what do? I don't sit there and I'm working with five figures, right? So I don't sit there and go, okay, yeah, let me throw a couple thousand in here, right? No, no, that's dumb. I always go with this rule, right? And this rule is $100 scratcher, right? It's just $100 bill right here. Throw it at it, right? Just yeet right at it. And if it goes to zero, oh well, right? That was an hour or a couple hours of my work, whatever. But so many times these meme coins can and do like 1000x and all that, right? And so next thing you know, you've made that 100 into 1000, or even sometimes you can make it into, like, say in Doge's case and all that shit and all them, like up to 10,000, right? And you're like, whoa. So yeah, Jay, you got something for us, right?
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask Billy a few questions. Number one, you said that for you, when you look at the market, you're looking for sentiment, right? And a shift in sentiment. So how do you go about doing that? Is it news that you're looking at? Are you watching specific YouTubers? Are you looking for the reaction of people around you? How do you determine when sentiment is at a point where you're thinking, okay, sentiment is X, it's probably time for me to exit a position, or sentiment is Y, and it's probably time for me to enter this position? Can you give us a brief overview of exactly how you go through your process?
I mean, yeah, I have had the lifestyle such that I could immerse myself in crypto content, up to 8 hours a day. So, starting off in the morning with Ivan on Tech, Crypto.7, those guys who Seven, says this is kind of how he looks at the market. And then, even that fear and greed index is one good thing to check in on, for what it's worth. But also, just the chats, the general disposition of people in the chats, and Twitter. I stepped into Twitter and, and then, like I said, in the memes, especially when Charlie does his segments. So it's kind of pulling, and then news too, try to get some actual news sources in there and do some light article, research. But so it's kind of a combination. I mean, I hate to say it's a feeling, but that's what sentiment is. I wouldn't say I'm doing any sort of objective data collection or anything like that with it, but I could see it leading to that. You could put it on a chart, and but I've seen a few charts that show how the market can turn on those different, like what we saw recently with Gary and the SEC. One day it was all gloom and doom, and then all it took was that BlackRock news, and next thing we know, it's all sunshine and rainbows. If there's a way to somehow get ahead of that and understand that things are about to switch, or people have had their fill of gloom and doom, and now everybody wants some sunshine and rainbows, I think there might be something to it as like a fourth sector of analysis. But honestly, I mean, it's more in my brain. I just try to like listen between the words of what people are saying, and it's worked for me, at times to get in to projects, where otherwise, it seems like the rest of the crowd hasn't really picked up on it yet. But that was just lucky a couple tries. There's other times where it's left me, just kind of, you get swept up in the emotion of everybody's sentiment too. So you need to be objective so that you yourself don't get swept up in it.
That's really, really well said. So obviously, like, there's different levels, right? And basically, like, for you, Bill, like, you're all like, you know what, I'm gonna eat a bunch of this out here, and I read the sentiment, right, and there's definitely like people are liking this, so I'm gonna go ahead and eat some of that. However, oftentimes there's a lot of, like, you may call them Bitcoin maxis or whatever, right? There are people who want that nice stable, like, they don't want all of this going on, right? They don't want the fear throwing money into something that they could actually lose, and they don't want to lose it that way, right? And here at the Degenerate Roundtable, right, we have all wide range of everybody here. We're all different types of degens around here. So actually, because of that, so on the opposite end of where Billy's at, I'm a little bit curious, Josh, kind of what's your take on that? Like, how when it comes to like degenerate plays, I know that you're like super seifu and all that. So what is it that you kind of look for, and what is it that you kind of do to make sure that, you know, it's not as crazy as just kind of yeeting money and oh well if it's gone, right?
Well, the problem with it, I wouldn't even say it's a problem. My thing is that time is a resource to me. Like, time's my most important resource. I'm smart with money. I've always been smart with money, and I try to, as I've gone throughout crypto and as my knowledge has grown and stuff like that, I try to make the best calculated decisions that I can with my money and the things that I buy. So the coins that I have in my portfolio, I've put a lot of effort into. I put a lot of thought and research into them. So it's not so much that I'm against going, you know, with those sort of coins. It's I don't know if I can necessarily allocate the time to put into that effort. And it sounds like Billy is one of those guys that's awesome. And I have a question for him when I'm finished answering this. But he has that ability to see and to feel the sentiment in the marketplace to get into a coin. The question that I have, I would like to know is that, does that work the opposite way also? Can you feel when a coin's somewhat starting to get oversold or overbought, and then, you know, you're able to pull out before you can, you know, before everybody else can? Because it sounds like you can feel the sentiment pretty well. You're able to get into a coin quickly. I don't have, you know, I just don't have that. I don't have that ability. Maybe it's something that'll grow in time, but yeah, to me, it ultimately comes down to the, you know, what coins work for my portfolio. And if it's not a coin that doesn't necessarily work for my portfolio because I haven't put that much time researching and you know, being calculated towards it, it's just I'm not gonna buy anything that I don't truly understand like that. But yeah, so Billy, the question is, you know, you were talking about your ability to hop in, you know, get in, you know, you can feel when the sentiment's starting to turn, and you can feel when, you know, a coin's starting to heat up. That's awesome. Does that work the opposite way also? Like, can you sort of feel like, okay, yeah, this thing's getting bought up by everybody, it's time to punch out?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's been part of the learning curve of it all, you know, because yeah, if you hang on too long, you know, it just goes right back down and you never realize any profit. So yeah, I mean, they're, you know, top indicators, whether you want to look at it in a shit coin where, you know, suddenly Pepe gets listed on Binance. I mean, that was kind of the no brainer. Like, you know, Somi and other people are saying, look, that's a top indicator, you know, now the shit's gonna dump. And it did. Now, if you're a retail investor, you don't think that. You think, oh shit, you know, gets listed on Binance, now that's the signal to buy. But so you have to really learn to do the opposite of what your emotions telling you. And the other example of that is the 12-cent Hex. You know, when we got that run up, at that point, you know, you're thinking, shit, it could go to 24. It could go back up to the all-time high. You've got, you know, the Super Bowl's axis, you know, saying it's going to go higher. But, you know, you really need to take a step back at those moments of euphoria, as sweet as that is, and as good as that buzz that is. And, you know, splash some cold water on your face and say, look, I got to take some profit. I got to protect my stack. And, you know, that's something that I'm learning as I go, you know, when I have those different feelings that go along with the price action.
Yeah, actually, so I got a little bit to add to that. So in looking at the way that, say, like you got Josh over here, right? And then you got you, Billy, over here, you're able to kind of just feel that sentiment feeler, right? Versus Josh is very technical, right? He's like, I want to see those numbers specifically, blah, 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 right? And you're like, yeah, but you know, I'm kind of getting a feeling about this thing. And then yeah, something actually happens, right? And you got a feeling, right? So I'm a little bit in the middle, actually. So for me, I do kind of, because I sense things, you know, I get that feeling sentiment, right? But then I'm also reading about how things happen, how governments are doing stuff, right? So I've got that fundamental side. I kind of sit on that fence a little bit, but I'm a little bit in the boat with Josh, where I work a lot and I don't have a lot of time to be sitting on the computer, right? Looking around for things, right? I'm out in the field doing things, right? And I do it a lot. So I don't have a lot of time to be researching other than say like YouTube, right? And I can just put some earbuds in. So what I've found to be doing actually is the best thing for me is kind of relying a little bit on someone like you saying, hey, this is an interesting one. And then I'll like quickly take a look at it. And I'll start kind of looking, okay, it's a meme, right? People in the communities are saying a lot of things about it. There's some attention being drawn there, right? And I can tell based on the charts that it hasn't like done this, right? This might be a good one to throw a scratcher at. But for the most part, when it comes to me, I'm more on Josh's side, where I want money printers to just be, you know, printing while I'm away at work, right? And I don't rely too heavily on being able to just throw money at things and then get out when I need to get out. And so yeah, I do a lot more LPing and farming, and then some of those gains that I get, which I would almost consider as free money, right? I will actually take and start eating at these meme coins. So that's generally kind of what it is that I do. We are going to have actually a video specifically about LPing, because we got a bunch of guys in here who really like deeply love that. You know, the farming, you get all the free rewards and yields and all that. It really is a great way to make a lot of money in crypto, a lot of extra coins, cultivating your crypto, right? Just like Charlie, cultivating crypto. So, yep. All right. So I'm going to, Josh, did you have, oh, no, Jay, you got something that you want to say here. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I just actually wanted to comment on what Josh was talking about earlier about if you're somebody who's extremely conservative, like for example, Josh is somebody who's extremely analytical, right? He has to be able to see patterns on the chart, and he has to actually be able to, when he looks at a coin, see that it actually has a plan, right? Who's the team, who's the founder, what's their plan? And then is that reflecting on the price action? But for me personally, as I've gotten more involved in this space, and as I've started to hedge my technical analysis with the fundamental analysis part of it, what I've realized that even for memes like Pepe that have no fundamental use case, aside from being a very popular meme, me as a technical analyst can see how even something without any, like zero tokenomics behind it, right? Zero plan, zero roadmap. I can see how the math still kind of plays out in the chart, right? Because if we have a little bit of time later and we take a look at the Pepe chart, you notice that on this pullback, right, it respected key fib levels. So not only did that tell me that there was a big community supporting this project at this key price level, right? It also respected the math of what creates a good chart. And so even if it didn't have, and like even if it doesn't have a roadmap, even if it doesn't have a plan, even if it doesn't have a team, even if it doesn't have any tokenomics that make sense behind a project, me as a technical analyst can still see that reflected on the chart, right? And so if you're somebody more like Josh and you need something concrete and tangible in order for you to jump into a coin, I would suggest not dismissing any project in general, right? Because we're all in here to make money. And I, personally, if I was a bit too rigid with how I got into projects, I would have missed out on a lot of these key opportunities. Not saying that what Josh is doing is wrong, right? I think that's perfectly fine because he's sticking with his thesis. But the only thing that I'm trying to say is, don't be so closed, like closed off to even some of these memes, because you're gonna miss out on a ton of opportunity, right? If you do so. But that's me personally. So
That's a good one, Jay. Actually, yeah, I do want to do that here pretty soon. We're gonna bring up some charts on just some meme coins that have been very interesting, right? But Dace, you got something, right, man?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that both of those sides, all of the sides of market analysis is just that. It's market analysis. What is the market, right? The market is a collective, is the collective sentiment acting in a financial manner, right? And so you're going to see the evidence of that, whether it's in the memes or in the math, that they're all going to be pointing. We're looking for clues towards that collective consciousness, right? We're looking for I don't know, the edge, right? Where it might be going next. That's what all of the ends are, right? The ends to all of these techniques are, hey, I want to be able to act. I want to buy something that somebody else wants to buy after me for more money, right? That's the point. And so in terms of time frame, size, volume, whether it's wealth preservation or accumulation with a more sort of aggressive take, you're still trying to just ultimately read that collective sentiment. And so the sides are all connected, right? It's all the same thing. It's just different ends of it, different ends of the market. Wanted to add that it's important to remember that there's no right answer or correct, singularly correct technique to read such a thing. That's all. I appreciate all of your guys' takes on it, and I wanted to add that.
Yeah, no, that's 100%, Dace. Like, sentiment reads are, I think that's the thing that really started getting me kind of like, because I spent my entire crypto career being that exit liquidity, and it was always that same thing. You're like, oh, it's going high, it's going to move, right? Throw money. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'll throw money in there. And next thing I know, there was this one time I threw $100 in this coin. It was literally called Ethereum 2.0, and it pumped, and I had $1,500. And I remember this was one of my first day in training, right? At my new job. And I'm looking at this like, oh my gosh, but everyone's like, oh, it's going higher, keep it. And so yeah, I just ended up not doing anything with it, and I lost it all. I still technically have the coins, even though it all went to zero. And I could have easily pulled out, and I literally thought to myself, I don't care. I threw $100 in, and it's sitting at $1,500. I should just pull it out. But everybody was sitting there yelling at me like, no, keep it in there. And I had that feeling of like, why do I care if it goes higher? What is that, 150x on my $100? Like, I should just take it out, and I didn't. So that was a really that was a messed up one for me. Hey Jeff, what are you thinking about this? Kind of like as far as sentiment goes and all that. Hey Jeff, we can't hear you, brother.
Well, sorry, I had my headset on and my mic was on mute. I was talking to myself for a good 30 seconds. So, what's up, guys? So, as far as marketing, I feel like you're seeing your normal type of towards the end of the bear where you're finally starting to see a lot of the hardcore people that never gave up, that like throughout the entire bear, they kept being positive. Even they're getting tired now. And when that usually starts happening, that's, to me, you're getting towards the bottom. But my strategy doesn't change. DCA, and if it goes down lower, I buy more. And if it drops down a shit ton, I double my DCA. So as far as sentiment analysis right now, like, I think it's going exactly how it's supposed to be going, and it's heading towards the whole, oh, crypto's dead, oh, they're not approving the ETF, oh, crypto must be doomed. All these kind of things are just fantastic buy signals to me.
No, I 100% agree with that, and that's actually that's a really good thing to look at as far as sentiment goes. However, so Josh, you got something for us. What is take it off, man. What are we doing here?
Yeah, for sure. It ultimately everybody's going to react different to their first market, and that's it's really after you're able to get your legs underneath you and you're able to experience the market and you're able you learn. You don't just read how people respond to massive dips or massive pumps. It's actually being there and actually feeling it. Because similar to you, I was that exit liquidity when I first got in. So being that exit liquidity, that's when I was like, you know what, this is never happening to me again. So I'm going to put all my time and all my effort, and I'm going to do every single bit of due diligence. Now, if I was somebody that maybe threw, $400 into Dogecoin or Shiba Inu like a week before it pumped into the ozone layer, then I could be sitting here with a totally different story. You know what I'm saying? I have a totally different investment strategy. But I think what's good is that even though we all got into the market at different times, we're all at a similar point. And Billy is able to feel that. You Nate, you're pretty balanced. I thank Jay every day for his technical, or for his technical analysis portion, and for his ability to see that. I can see different parts of myself in each one of you guys, and I feel like it's probably the same way for you guys. So, everybody's different, and everybody's going to develop their method and what works for them based on their experience. But I think the big thing is that you need to be able to earn that time, and you need to be able to earn that strategy. And and when you're finally able to earn that, that's when you can when you can lay your head down to sleep at night, and you can say, you know what, I'm comfortable with my strategy. I don't care what's going on. I don't care what noise is going on in the world. I'm comfortable with where I am.
Yeah, no, perfect. All right, so Jay, if you could just wrap this up for us, put a nice little bow on it and everything, and then let's go jumping into some shitcoinery charts. I really want to see what you guys do with that, because that'd be very, very fascinating.
No, I just wanted to comment real quick on what Josh was saying earlier, that I think we're fortunate. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like a lot of us here in this group, we were pretty much born during the bear market, and I think it might really sound strange for people to hear that a lot of us think that we're fortunate that we were born in the bear market. But for me, I think it was good that we experienced one of, probably a lot of people would consider, one of the worst bear markets in the history of cryptocurrency, right? Is because we were at rock bottom. For example, you and Josh, your initial experience in crypto, you were exit liquidity for a lot of people, right? For Brendan, for his experience, right? He forgot, he didn't sell at the top, and he rode it all the way down. And so even though he wasn't exit liquidity, he actually missed out on exiting at the top, right? And so because we hit rock bottom, we all realized exactly how it was to feel at that point in time and how shitty it was. And all of us basically came to the same conclusion: I am not going to end up here ever again, because it fucking sucks to be here. And we worked our asses off in order for us to never make the same mistakes ever again, right? And that's precisely the reason why I think we're fortunate. Josh mentioned his thesis could be completely different if he was the type of person who threw $400 at Dogecoin before Elon Musk tweeted about it, talked about it on Joe Rogan, and it went to the moon, right? Those people might have been riding high, but they haven't hit rock bottom yet, right? For me personally, I would rather hit rock bottom when I've only invested a little bit into the market, or I haven't lost that much, as opposed to somebody who got 1000x on Doge, didn't learn any lessons, right? Just riding the high and then lose it all, right? I personally think that's a lot worse than what we went through last year. So I just wanted to say that, because what Josh said there was an experience that I think is pretty congruent with all of us here in this group. So
let me just say one thing, boys. You know, we need each other. The round table. We all bring something different to the round table. And you know, when we're at that point in the bull and it's euphoric, I need you guys to be like, yo, bro, take some profit. You know, like, I mean, we need to help each other out through it. I kind of thought DCC and CC would give us that guidance, but I felt it wasn't as clear as I would have liked it to be. And when I'm not looking for them to hold my hand, but you know, they got their own shit going on. I'm just saying, you know, we've already had some, you know, that 5x on the Hex from the beginning of the year. I should have taken more profit at that 12-cent mark, you know. So I was kind of wrestling with the euphoria. But you know, I felt like if I had a few more bros, we weren't doing our thing at that time. But if I had a few more bros to talk with, we could have all rationalized our way to be like, hey man, this is already parabolic. Let's take some profit. So I think, you know, I mean, I'm not want to rely on each other too much, but when it comes to these points, the same way we help each other at the bottom, we got to help each other at the top.
Hey, Bill. So you got to think about it this way: brothers help each other. We're not holding each other's hand. Like, we're not doing that, but we are helping each other. And that's what's really important. This is one of the reasons why every single person, right, who is listening to this, you need friends. You need people around you. You can't do it yourself. That's what I'm 30 years old, and my entire life has always been Lone Star, right? I've always been that lone wolf. I'll do it myself because I've been able to rely on friends. And I mean, where has that gotten me? Not where I want to be. So Bill, you're right. We need to rely on each other, but we're also not going to be holding each other's hands, right? So, alrighty, let's get some meme charts up. What do you say there, Jay?
Yeah, for sure, man. What memes in particular did you guys want to take a look at? Well, actually, here's the thing, right? Before we even get to the memes, right? I want to ask Billy this question: how do you determine exactly which meme coins to get into, right? Which ones are actually worth your time and your capital to invest? So how do you determine as an investor which memes to get into? Can you give us a little bit of an overview there? Because there has to be some method to the madness. Right? There's way too many meme coins. There's a new meme coin born every single fucking day. You don't have enough time and capital to allocate to every single one of them, right? So how do you determine which ones of the memes are actually worth investing in?
I mean, again, man, I'm fairly new to this. This is my first rodeo in some respects, having been born in the bear market. So you know, again, it came from being oversaturated in all the media sources that, you know, when Pepe, what was like April 15th or whatever, you know, I think is when the coin was born. And just watching everybody, you know, the hype begin on it. But it's like, no, man, there's no way to know that wasn't going to be a rug. You know, so at the end of the day, I mean, no one's a mind reader. You know, I think that you have to have some balls at some point just to throw in on something and then try to hold it, you know, to a goal. And I was fortunate enough with Pepe and then Wojak, and then we had that little meme run. I hit a few of them, but then I crapped out on a bunch of them, you know. So I mean, I wouldn't say there's really a method to the madness with memes, man. It's about being in the right place at the right time. And if you keep your finger on the pulse of it the way that we do, it's more likely that we're gonna, you know, catch wind of something in the earlier stages. But I mean, you could spend all day on Twitter and in the chats and in the telegrams. I mean, you could really make I've tried to make somewhat of a job out of it. And it was exhausting, man. And eventually I did back away from it and just, you know, focused in on the core coins again. I'm just coming back around to it with seeing the meme action on Pulse Chain to say, okay, here's kind of like a second chance. You know, I had some luck. I learned, I got burned, I got rugged, but now I'm going to use everything I learned. And here we have another chance to see how, you know, this can work on Pulse Chain, and try not to make, you know, the same mistakes as before, and try to take profits, at certain points. And to me, it is very gambly. And now to have charts and to have technical analysis is awesome. And the whole time I was doing it, I was trying to watch as much of that as I could. If I could find someone doing the analysis, because I don't do it myself, but I don't know what to say, man. We don't want to encourage this kind of degenerate behavior. It's more for people that have, already gotten their positions in their main coins, and now we're just kind of sitting around and waiting for the bull market. That's kind of how I look at it, man.
Yeah, that's really well. One thing that, like, say I do, right? Right now, I went over to Coin Gecko, right? And I'll go over to new coins, and it's the funniest thing in the world. And this is actually how I originally found Pepe and Wojak, because I like these coins here are not even a week old, right? And so, like, just kind of really quickly going through, right? I'm seeing inedible coin, right? You get these really weird ones, Spider-Man, right? Alien Milady. And then my favorite one here, actually, we should look at this. I'm not even gonna lie, Jay. It's called Scam Coin. It's literally scam, SCAM. I'm not even joking. And so, like, I'm not. Here's what I would do, right? That is so funny to me that I would literally take like maybe $50 or whatever, throw it at it, just because I'm getting a good laugh out of it, right? That's so funny, man. So yeah, Dace, did you have something you wanted to add on?
Yeah, I guess a disclaimer of like why. So, explain the situation for somebody who is coming into this clean. Why is this degenerate behavior? What makes it different from the core 90% of your portfolio, right? I think people sharing their experience in the meme coins a little bit about like, here's why it's dangerous, I think is probably important for anybody who may be new. And I think especially for Pulse Chain, it's unique because the danger lies in, so let's say you are playing with the Pulse Chain copies of a major coin. Do we think that is the same, is that the same as scam coin? Are there levels to the game, I guess is my question, in terms of is wrapped BTC on Pulse Chain more or less degenerate than Pepe on Pulse Chain? And how do you qualitatively and quantitatively, because you can look up the charts and see the claimable volumes. All of it's just so new and different to what we're used to, and meme coins on other chains, especially. Like you guys have said, Jay said, I think me and Jay came into the market, or not in the market, but into this arena at a roughly the same time. And so I don't have any experience on Binance Smart Chain or any other. I have a little bit of experience on Phantom. And that's just about it, honestly. And so I would say, especially the wrapped Bitcoin, that was compelling to me. I was like, because Richard tweeted about it first, because it's still Bitcoin. It's some crazy, it's a copy of a Bitcoin. I found those compelling. I grabbed a couple and I actually dumped them at about even, because I was wanting to just hit my core bag targets, which I just did like today. That feels good. But yeah, I guess, how do you see a different value if we're talking about Pulse Chain meme coins or less than quality coins, quote unquote? Number one, how do you qualify those? Why are they dangerous? And are some more dangerous than others?
That's a great question. So actually, I'm going to hand that one over to Billy. Like, what exactly are you seeing when it comes to these coins? I know that sometimes you're doing certain things that I think just recently, actually, you got kind of scammed out of an LP, was it, in Pulse Chain? I mean, if you want to kind of go into that, the reasons why you did it, what you were expecting, and what ended up happening to you, kind of like we all have that, like, wow, I went to the moon, but we also have that, and then I got rugged, right? When we're talking about these coins, right? Remember, if you're brand new to this and you're trying to follow the sentiment, make sure that, like what happened to me, you know, there's so much hype going, right? And you're like, oh, I need to get in now. That's actually what happened with Dogecoin. Dogecoin pumped, and then I bought, right? And I bought at the top because everyone was saying, you got to get into it, right? Take a step back, right? Take a step back. And so, yeah. Billy, you want to go into that story about what the heck happened with that LP?
Yeah, no, it's like I had a level of trust at that point, which was false for, you know, any LP that was popping up on Pulse Chain, because up until that point, you know, we have the LP farms and those all checked out to be legit. We were all in and out of those. This was on V1, the LPs, and yeah, man, it was like a new coin. So, you know, on Dex Screener, some of the ways that you're going to look at which coins to stratify which is shit and which is, you know, potentially shit that can turn to gold is, you know, you're on Dex Screener, you're looking at the, you know, the new pairs, how old is the coin, you know, right away, you know, people start to review it. You know, there's a little button you can click if it's shit, you can click if it's going to go to the moon, and then there's a red flag. You know, I mean, so those are little indicators. You know, then you're going to go to their Twitter page, maybe see if there's a Twitter presence for the coin. If the coin, you know, Twitter page has other reputable people, you know, who are linked with it. That might be another way to vet if the coin is even real or not. I mean, honestly, yeah, my mind got blown by, I mean, I got scammed, bro. Like, I mean, for sure. Like, and it's my own fault because some of these practices didn't add up and I still took the risk, you know? So yeah, on that LP farm, it was a new coin and it had been somehow paired in the LP farm with, I think with Pulse, and there was a crazy high APR. And then I put a little bit of money in, you know, it went up and I put more money in. But what my mistake and that I learned was I didn't do a test transaction. Like basically like any coin that's a new coin, if you want to degen into it, especially on Pulse where the gas fee is so low, you should do a test transaction to make sure you can get money back out of the coin. Because the problem was I could put it in, but then when I went to try to take profit out, the contract is scam written such that you can't even get money out of the coin. So that's a pretty bad feeling to like, your money's definitely gone at that point, you know? So that was a harsh awakening, but I learned the lesson now and I have better practices as far as sending that test transaction, you know, triple checking the contract, making sure, you know, this is the one, checking with other people in the space, you know, is this the right address? I mean, so I see you guys doing a lot of that, you know, now anyway in our chat. But that would be one thing. And then, you know, just having your due diligence as far as if you're going to put into a coin like that, yeah, you're going to be kind of married to your computer and checking it. And it's a lot different than making a long-term investment. So if I feel like you have a responsibility, if you are going to speculate like that, you got to do it on a time, like almost like when Pulse Chain launched, you know, you've got a weekend free to degen. It needs that kind of close attention because the profit comes so quick. Like there were coins that 10x'd on me and I couldn't even get home in time to get the profit out. By the time I got home, they were back down to a 2x. So, you know, shit like that. It was definitely turned into gambling straight up. And I mean, I've been playing poker and gambling for a long time. So I have a you know, I like it. It's entertainment to me. I even get high from it, you know, but I turned into a damn meme junkie at one point, you know, so, you know, you just got to watch yourself. And I use all this to learn about myself. And when I pay for lessons, I tend to remember them, sadly, but.
I actually had that experience with the wrapped Bitcoin that I bought. When I was, by the time I got home, it went from, you know, I'm up 80% or so to I was happy to break even. So yeah, that was my first experience in the same.
One thing you mentioned there, that I've kind of gone to this point myself, right? Let's say, okay, you're newer to crypto and you're like, hey, what is this Wojak thing, right? Or baby Pepe, how about that one? We'll go with that one. Or maybe just scam coin, right? And you're just like, this is funny, right? And you throw money at it, only you think you're hearing the hype, the sentiment, you're thinking, hey, it can actually pump up and everything, right? And in Billy's case, he was like, I'm liking this, pulse chain seems safe, blah, blah, blah. New coin, throws it in there. By the way, that is also called LPing type of yielding strategy. APR percentage LPing strategy, right? You go around chasing APRs. This can work for you, but sometimes you're going to end up running, usually with newer coins, right? Newer with scam coins. This can really get you wrecked, and in Billy's case, it did. So this is why you got to be very careful with that. We're going to go more into that into a different video, very deep into it actually. But I think it is vitally important that people understand paying for your lesson. What are you paying for your lesson? You paid the money you threw in and lost, dummy. So at that point, right, it's vitally important that you think about it like, I just paid a lesson. Okay? Don't be like, oh, I shouldn't have done it, blah, 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 hindsight, whatever, look in the past, regret it, things like that. Be like, no. I learned something new and I paid money for it. Just hopefully it's not a lot of money. All right. So, all right. Hey, Billy, obviously you're like our more meme coin expert over here. Can you grab us a couple to go look at? Well, I would love to see some of these on the charts, man. Kind of what are you looking at?
I mean, honestly, I think P Pepe is really the one to look at because, I mean, that pump today was pretty wild, right? I mean, it pumped up from, it was at 24, now it went to 55, and then it went to like 95. It like did a 2x in like an hour or two today, with Richard's tweet, and there's obviously some interest like from outside of Pulse Chain. It seems like his tweet did get some action from the other side to come in.
That's awesome. Jay, can you pull that up?
That's as degenerate as I want to be personally.
Let's have a look at that. I like that. Yeah, Jay, can you pull that up for us, please?
I mean, I think most of us got in when it was back down there, wallowing, so it just, it's kind of behaving like the other Pepe did, but I don't know if there's really a limit to it. Wouldn't that be wild if that's what brought everybody into Pulse Chain? And but this is happening on other chains too, like the Binance. There's the Pepe 2.0, and all the chains are trying to get this kind of hype. But are they doing 2x's in an hour like that did today or something? I mean,
Billy, Billy, we just got to get into scam coin, man. Just got to get into scam coin.
I don't know, man. I'll check. I'll start looking, for people talking about it and shit. But again, Pepe, I mean, it seems to have some legitimacy. We know it's not a rug. People can dump on us for sure because they get the free copies. So that's always going to be part of the dynamic of anyone coming onto Pulse Chain. But, I mean, I think everyone made a little bit of scratch on it today. I didn't take any profit because I figure let it just keep rolling up. I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll 20x. We don't know, we don't know.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to go ahead and compare both charts for you guys, just so that you could see kind of the juxtaposition between a meme coin that might actually be something and a meme coin that you might just want to be taking profits on every single time it pumps. So the first one, I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna share with you my screen for Pepe on Ethereum. Give me 1 second here. Wow, it is really difficult. Okay, give me 1 second.
Yeah, in the meantime, yeah, that was really cool what happened today for us. Basically, we were watching Ben and Pepe, and yeah, I ended up taking some profits on it right away because I bought in really low, right? And then it came back, like it had a pullback, and I was like, oh, shoot, all right, cool. Well, I'll throw some more at it, right? And it ended up pumping again, and I was like, whoa, that's even higher. and I took more profits out of it. It was a little bit accidental. I happened to be home today. It's my day off, right? But it was really cool for me because I was able to just go to Dextrainer, pull it up, and I started watching all the people selling, right? And then all the people buying. So this is like on-chain data, right? Where I was watching how, and I was degenerate as all heck because I was looking at the hour chart. So you want to watch that, right? But yeah, I was just seeing so many people like red, right? And I was like, I already sold, so it's all good. And I watched it go down. But then I started saying buy, like green, right? Buy. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm gonna throw another $100 in there, right? And I did that, and it ended up basically 2xing, right? And I was like, oh, whoa, hello. And I was at that point, I was looking back to that whole Ethereum 2.0 issue that I had that one time, right? I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna take profits on this right now. But yeah, Ben ended up doing that same thing. So you got it, Jay?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Let's have a look.
Yeah, it was a little bit difficult because when I was trying to switch over to my charts, the heads up display for Zoom was blocking my tabs. I was like gonna switch over to it. But okay, let me know if you guys can see the chart here for Pepe on Ethereum. You guys see it okay? Good. All right. So here, like I was alluding to earlier, here is something that here's a meme coin that might not have any roadmap. It doesn't have a plan. It doesn't have any tokenomics. It's just a popular meme. But the way that it actually looks on the chart as a technical analysis, I can look at this just from the jump, and I'm like, this is a damn good looking chart, right? So we're on the daily view here. You can see that Pepe from day one, for those of you familiar with Elliott Wave, you can see this immediately, right? It looks like we have a wave 1, a 2, a 3, 4, and 5 to complete this macro wave 1. And then for the past month or so, we've spent a little bit of time consolidating, right, into this wave 2. Now, what other indicators can show us that this is actually following some kind of pattern? Well, let's go ahead and do a fib retracement from the bottom of our wave 1 here to the top, right? And you can see that where did Pepe end up finding support? Look at that. Well, it found support at around that 0.786 area, right? Which is, what is that? Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0, and a 9, 9, 3. And if you guys remember when we were speaking about these levels, right? The levels in between that 0.618 and that 0.786, this is the golden pocket. This is what buyers or investors would refer to as the great value area of price. And so a lot of people bought Pepe on Ethereum up at this price level, and then it's just spent the last month or so consolidating around this area. If you noticed, right, we broke past this this downwards trend line here a few like I would say this like 2 weeks ago. We reclaimed that 20-day moving average, and then now we're pushing to the top of this Bollinger Bands. If you also notice, I like charting things from day one, and it seems like, I don't know, man, Pepe might be following a 60-day cycle pattern here. So there's that another there's one more thing Pepe's got going on for it. Now, where can we see this next, right? So if we finish this wave 1 and we found a bottom for its wave 2, well, let's do some moon math here. Where can Pepe go for its wave 3? Where the minimum targets that I'm seeing is, let's do a fib retracement from our all-time high here to our swing low. Right? At the minimum, I'm expecting wave 3 to hit this 5 zeros. What is it? 5 zeros, 5 zeros, and a 67. Right? But if you want to go really, really crazy, what we can do is we can take a fib extension from the bottom of our wave 1 here to the top and pull that across. and we can get really disgusting, right? So for wave threes, for brand new assets like Pepe, it is not uncommon for us to punch past this 1.618 extension all the way up and even further past this 4.236. So if you can imagine, for a wave three, let's just see. Let's say you're like Billy, who got into Pepe pretty damn early and who intelligently left a moon bag. So if, like, let's give Billy, you know, let's say he invested into Pepe like right here, day 2, right? Let's say he invested right here at the top of this candle, right? If Pepe were to punch up all the way past that 4.236 level, at the minimum, Billy is making a 26,000% on his capital, right? What is that? Like a 2,600x, right? That's not too shabby. Now, when it comes to Elliott wave, I know that we've spoken about how the wave 3 at the minimum has to match the percent gain for wave 1. When it comes to new coins, this is probably one of the few times where you're going to be able to see assets break those rules, because the moves for new coins can be so parabolic. It's probably one of the few times that it's going to break Elliott wave rules, where because wave 1 was so parabolic that wave 3 might come just below of the percentage gain from wave 1. So I just want to kind of throw that disclaimer out there that when it comes to analyzing new assets, when you're doing TA for new assets, sometimes there's a tendency for it to break Elliott wave rules. But who knows with Pepe, right? It could just be complete coincidence that we have a nice 5-wave sequence to the upside here, a wave 2 consolidation, and then we're moving up to the wave 3. Who knows, right? I might just be seeing what I want to see, but you know, this chart to me looks pretty damn impressive. So, did you guys have any comments on that with Pepe and everything, and seeing it on the charts?
Just the market cap, when it gets, back up there, what did it peak out at? Like 1.5 billion or something? That again, Somi's analysis, and the thought was at that point you're almost getting to a point of diminishing returns, but that was on the original the original 5th wave coming up to the top. Now that we're coming back down and resetting, we don't know what's around the corner. If Bitcoin gets to 50,000, what's Pepe going to be at, right?
I want to go ahead and point out how there's different languages, right? So basically what Billy just got done saying is exactly what Jay just got done saying, as far as like the market cap and all that, right? It's kind of like, oh, well, it's overbought, all that. That's basically consolidation, right? There is a TA way of saying things, a technical way of saying things, right? And then there is a fundamental way of saying things, which is more, I would say, technical is more computer talk versus fundamental is more just kind of like people talk in general, And so make note on that, guys. Make note on that. Alrighty. So you said though, Jay, that's the beautiful chart. That's the good one. That's a good meme chart. So you wouldn't happen to be talking about Ben or some other type of bad chart over here that's pump and dump, would you? Don't tell me it's FTT. That one looked like it did well.
Guys, give me a quick second. I'm going to share with you the Ben chart. So this is actually an asset that we have been keeping an eye on, because oh my god. Okay, give me a second here. I'm trying to find it. Okay, there we go. Okay, let me know. Let me know if you guys can see this chart. All right, give me a thumbs up, Nate, if you can see it. All right, so if you see Ben here, we have some kind of pattern developing, right? We got higher highs and higher lows, but from a pattern perspective, I can't really see much anything else here, aside from a lot of wicks to the upside and then a dumping to the downside. And so when we were taking a look at this asset, the only thing that I basically told the guys, and Ruff from our chat, he hasn't come onto a show yet, but we were talking about like, okay, look, it seems like the Ben chart here, what it does is it gets these really massive wicks to the upside, and then it'll just dump back down, right? And this has happened a few times over the course of the past month or so, ever since the launch of Pulse Shade. And so when we were talking about this asset, look, there really isn't any pattern that we can suss out from here, right? The only thing we can see is, okay, every single time it comes down, it seems to come down to some level of support right here. It finds a bottom here at this level of support. And so if we're going to throw some money at this asset, right, we're not going to be doing any type of fib analysis. We're not going to be doing any type of Elliott wave analysis. We're going to look, all we are going to look at is, okay, after this next wick up, it's probably going to most likely dump. And that's exactly what happened. Found support where? Around this, how many zeros in a 22? And it's done that every single time it's wicked up and wicked down. And so we were like, okay, next time it comes down to this support area is the time that we are actually going to enter a position, right? And so when it came down here, I entered a position around here, right? And then a few days ago, when we were watching the ePepe shoot all the way up, we were telling everybody, okay, look, it's probably going to come back down after the next wick. And so if you're trying to gain a position, wait for it to get to this 22 area and then enter a position. And Nate actually entered around, what was it, like maybe 2.5, 2.7, right? Was when you entered, right? And then today, once Richard announced the farms, or once Richard announced that there was going to be potential farms on Pepe, right? It wasn't live yet. What did Pepe do? It went skyrocketing up. And what did people do the following day? Exactly what we were expecting. We were thinking, okay, once people start taking profits on Pepe, what are they going to do? They're going to try and front run other meme coins, other popular meme coins like Ben, in anticipation for Richard possibly speaking about it. So what did people do? They take those profits for Pepe, they put it into Ben. Ben did, let's see, this candle, let's say from the bottom. It's a nice little, what's a nice little, almost a 300x on a daily, right? What's a nice little 300x on a daily, right? It's a 4x. Basically, that's a 4x, almost a 4x, right? And all of us bought here at the bottom, right? So sometimes you're not going to find any sort of pattern whatsoever on a chart aside from simple support and resistance, right? And when it comes to really highly volatile coins like this that have no fundamentals, right? Like Josh is saying, that has no rhyme or reason behind it. Personally, I don't recommend that you get into this kind of coin. Like, for example, let's say you saw this top here and you wanted to get into this asset. I don't recommend people get into anything like this until at the very least it's 90% down. But even more so, at least 95% down. Right? And so Nate entered around this 92.5% down. And I guarantee you today he was pretty happy. He made out like a bandit. How much pulse did you make off of this move, Nate? Can you tell everybody, please?
Yeah, so that move alone, so full disclaimer, right? Here's how I did it. Okay, so I ended up putting $100 into Ben of pulse, right? Which was basically 1 million pulse, right? Super easy number to follow. It was really cool how this happened, by the way. So I did Ben, and then I also did Pepe. All right, here's what ended up happening. When this wick for both of them went up, I checked it, and for Pepe, I literally 2x'd it, right? I got, well, it was about 2 million and some change, right? Pulse back out. I'm like, damn, that is cool, right? Here's the thing. I've been moving into the ink farm. So technically speaking, I would have gotten about, it was about 350, or sorry, 3,500,000, whatever. pulse out. Instead, fully, if I already got my principal of pulse back out, I fully threw that into ink. And I made out with a good, what was it, like $250 or no, it was about $200 worth of ink, right? And somewhere around there. Whatever. Numbers don't care. Number go up, right? And so I got free ink that I was then able to move over, literally free, move over into a very nice farm of ink and pulse now. That entire move, what I originally threw in for pulse into both these scam coins, I was literally able to just pull those out with the amount of the wicks and throw it into a farm, and now I have another money printer. Badass.
Yeah, but we haven't kind of gone over it specifically in this portion of the web of the show, but that's Nate basically exercising good practice, right? We knew that the pump on Ben and the pump on Pepe was a take profits pump. It wasn't it didn't have any pattern, right? It supported some key it respected some key levels of support, right? And that's where we made our entries. But when it comes to some of these meme coins and some of these shit coins, you're not going to be able to suss out any type of patterns. And so when it starts pumping, right, it's best practice, like what Nate did, right? At a 2 or 3x, don't get greedy, right? At the very least, take your principal out and leave a moon bag there and let it ride, right? Because if you're hoping that the Ben pump or the P Pepe pump is going to make you a millionaire, right, and you'll never have to work a day in your life, you would have gotten burned extremely, right? It's better to be conservative with your profit taking when it comes to these types of meme coins, especially meme coins that don't have any like good pattern to follow, rather than taking the chance of getting burned, right? And look, I'm saying you might leave some gains on the table, right? But your core thesis, right? Your core investment thesis, it should always be and forever be accumulate good assets, or at the very least, if you're really conservative, accumulate Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? All of the money that you're making when it comes to investing capital into these meme coins should always be funneled back into Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? That's what's gonna allow you to get out of the rat race. That's what's gonna allow you to create self-sovereignty and financial freedom for yourself, right? Not investing in these meme coins. The people that you hear making it with meme coins, they are 1 in a million, right? It's the same as winning the lotto, right? So don't risk it. But yeah, I'll throw it over back to you, Nate. I know that Jeff wanted to go over a few things about the portfolio. I know we don't want the show to run another 3 hours, so yeah, let's start wrapping it
For
up.
sure. Actually, so I was going to be going to Jeff. I did want to add one more thing though. This one more thing is really important for anybody who is in a scam coin or meme coin, whatever, and is actually in like profit, right? Originally, so with Pepe, I was just out. I was like, cool, I'll buy back later. Pepe's a good coin, right? Or we've come to learn it's good. Ben obviously was like, nah, right? And so I took out right off the bat when the candle hit its absolute highest, right? I took out my original principal plus a little bit more, and then I left the rest in for a short period of time. And I happened to be home today, so this is when I'm actually able to watch things on the computer. And I watched, and what I saw was red. People started selling, and I hit the top of the candle with my original principal plus more. And then I started seeing red, and this is coming from what was nothing but green before. That right there told me, people are dumping. This is a pump and dump. I know it's a pump and dump. It's already pumped. Now people are dumping. And I took everything else back out. Turns out that was very, very smart because now it is literally in the red right now. So just wanted to add that. All right, Jeff, take us off. What you got for us, man? I hear there's some stuff coming down the pipeline.
Okay, so I made up a little portfolio that I'm gonna do like a little. I don't know if we decided if it's gonna be a weekly or monthly thing, but I think we should touch on it once a week. So it's really simple. I got together 7 coins, and this isn't exactly coins that I'm saying anybody should invest in because obviously not financial advice. These are just, some are generic, some aren't. You know, I tried to do a little bit of everything. But here, let me see if I can share my screen. I just got this computer literally like yesterday, so I'm still messing with it. Let me see if it'll let me share.
You should see share screen at the bottom of the Zoom page in the middle.
Yeah, share is popping up.
Yep, you got it.
So I typed this up real quick this morning. So we got a combination of 7 coins. The 10,000 number is irrelevant, but I just wanted to go with a decent looking number. So, you know, that might be what the average person or not average person, whatever it was to invest. So we did a 20, 20, 20, 20, 10, 5, 5 split. And most people's portfolios would go heavier with Bitcoin and Ethereum. They would do just 50% off top Bitcoin and Ethereum. They do 25% Bitcoin, 25% Ethereum, something like that. And then all the rest, they would just split up in different ratios. But I'm more on the line of thinking like you could still make really good money in Bitcoin. Say it does a 2x or 3x. Sure, that's great. It's a lot better than real estate, a lot better than the stock market, a lot better than most things. But it's still not generational wealth. If you got 100 grand, you put in Bitcoin and you get 200 grand, that's not general. I mean, it could be for some people, but regardless, I like to in having this rare opportunity to make just insane amounts of money. I like to shoot for a little higher. So this one, I feel like it's a good balance. So you go with your Bitcoin, you know, your standard, you know, it's going to be there. It's a pretty good sized chunk. It's not going anywhere. You're going to get some returns, most likely. Not definitely, because I don't like to guarantee anything, but you're going to. After that, you go, you know, Ethereum, layer 1, basically invented the smart contract. They're not going anywhere for a long time, if ever. Probably they won't go anywhere ever. You know, you got sharding. Corporations are starting to get really big into Ethereum. As far as that goes, they're basically like the internet of money, the money of the internet, excuse me. So those are your 2 like rock solid foundations. You can't really go wrong with those, or it's highly unlikely for that to happen. Then after that, you go with my favorite coin of all time. I mean, ignore exactly where you are going to be using it on Hex on Ethereum or Pulse Chain. That's irrelevant. I decided to do Pulse Chain because that's the one I want to track just for the fun of it because it's new. But Hex is my favorite coin. It probably always will be just because I love the idea that there's no admin keys. It'll never go anywhere. Nobody on the planet can change it. It's you, the protocol works. You stake your time. Well, let's not use the word stake. You mine your time. You're giving that up for value. So, I mean, it's something that's been going on since the beginning of time. You don't do this, you wait this, you get rewards. You plant your crops, you wait, you make something out of it. That's why I like Hex. And let's say Hex never went up a single cent, ever. Let's say it stayed exactly the same. Let's say it stayed at a penny. Well, if you're staking it, you're getting a return. If it never goes up, you're getting a return, a big return, a return you're going to get better than anywhere else. So I love Hex. I always will. That easy enough. After that, I went with Pulse. I know we talk about it a lot, so I don't want to touch too much on it. Basically, a copy of Ethereum, and it is going to take the load off of Ethereum, which honestly it already has. You can go look how ETH rates have dropped. I think Pulse is going to do fantastic, and that's just not me being like a Richard Homer. I just really, really, really think it's going to do great. There's a lot of, especially now, especially until Ethereum sharding comes out. But by that time, Pulse will already have went up an exponential amount. But you have platforms that are going to be on Ethereum during the bull run that will be unaffordable. Basically, the reason why Pulse is invented, but I'm not even talking about Hex. Just anything. You're going to have, say you have a Web3 game on Ethereum, and oh man, you just unlocked this new cool skin for your gun. Okay, well, yeah, I'd like to put that skin on my gun. That'll be $300 in gas. Like, it's not feasible, but that's why I like Pulse. So literally, it's copied. Anything on Ethereum, boom, you're good. So I think that's going to do great. Then, we go with Phantom, which I have become a big fan of within the last year. Super, super fast. Simple, easy to use. I think the average gas fees right now are like a 10,000th of a penny, like 0.00000001. Not only that, it's EVM compatible, so it works with Ethereum platforms. A lot of people like to say Solana is the fastest network, and it might be transaction wise, but actually from start to finality, Phantom is actually the quickest. Not to mention they're coming up with a new upgrade. It's going to make it even faster. Not to mention that they are literally about to be opening up their own bank, like for crypto in itself. So I think that's really cool. I know Nate likes a lot of Phantom yield farms and stuff, so he kind of got me looking into Phantom too, and I really like Phantom a lot. So we went with Doge. Personally, I don't like meme coins. I'm doing it because I know a lot of people do. So I wanted the portfolio to be spread out. I myself am not a fan of meme coins. If you like them, I think that's great. I think you should invest in what you like. Doge, believe it or not, though, it still has the potential for a use case. I know I don't sound like a broken record, but if Twitter does do the whole, okay, well, we're going to start charging for this or that, let's make Doge a currency. Then you know what? It's no longer a meme coin. It has a use case. So Doge has the opportunity to evolve. But as of now, Doge, like the godfather of memes, we'll put it on there. We'll see how it would do. And Pulse X, reason I put it on here is because a little bit because of Hex, a little bit because of Pulse, but also you're starting to see crackdown after crackdown after crackdown on centralized exchanges. And that's not going anywhere. Like that's, in my opinion, going to get worse until it's regulated. And we'll see when that happens, but it's going to get worse and worse and worse. I really think like if there was ever like a time for like the apex of dexes to make their mark, it'll be this bull run. This will be the bull run where like, damn, I never thought a dex could do that. Not to mention Pulse X is a dex that has a significant buy and burn game theory. Like almost 1%. It might actually already be over 1% has already been burned. So I'm curious to see how it's going to go. I know a lot of people are like funded it because of the single-sided staking. I mean, okay, well, you have plenty of dexes that didn't have single-sided staking that did fantastic. Not to mention they don't have this buy and burn. Not to mention they're not going to have the same amount of volume from all the Ethereum users, from all the Hex community users that are all going to come to Pulse Chain. So honestly, Pulse X has like a perfect storm to just do well. I really don't think single-sided staking is that big of a deal. I would have been happy to have it, but I understand why not. It literally takes away part of Hex's use case. So I get it. But I'll still think Pulse X is going to kill it. The liquidity is going to be super high, so people are going to feel safe and people are going to use the shit out of it. Or at least I am, and I have been, and I've been doing really well with it. So besides that, I mean, my plan is to track it once a week. Right here, I got the numbers, how much we invested every week. I'm going to log how much percentage-wise they went up, down, how we're looking. And I'm honestly, I think it's going to be really fun, and I'm kind of excited to do it. I'm really, really looking forward to how it's going to be like on the yearly landmarks. Like we did this a year ago, boom. If you would have done this when the show started, boom, this is where you are. So yeah, I'm really pumped up about this. But that's the gist of it. Like I said, next week we'll come back with an update, and hopefully we'll all be theoretically richer with this fake money that we're doing the portfolio out of.
That's really well done, Jeff. This is I think this type of thing right here is vitally important when it comes to like say newbies, right? And I'm not even gonna lie, like if you've been in the been in crypto for a while, you're viewing this and it's a lot of fun to be like, all right, let's see where we're going with it, I'm not even gonna lie, this is gonna be a really cool thing to just follow along with, and kind of see where it goes, right?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really neat. I'm excited.
Okay, cool. So Josh, you had something for us, is that correct?
Yeah, I do. Jay has his hand up. Jay, did you want to go ahead and go real quick?
Yeah, actually, Jeff, could you go ahead and actually share that screen one more time with the portfolio? I wanted to bring something to the attention for our audience here that's really important. So if you go ahead and share your screen once again.
Yes, sir.
There we go. So if you guys take a look at Jeff's example portfolio here, right? Shout out to our mentors, Charlie and Miguel. When they first taught us how to create a portfolio, they mentioned something called a starter pack, right? And what that basically means is when you're creating a portfolio, what are those things that should be in your portfolio that should make the core of that whole portfolio? If you notice here that you have Jeff, even though he's a little bit lower percentage wise, and when it comes to Bitcoin and Ethereum, the overwhelming majority of this portfolio is still Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? Because these are the assets that we know that are going to do well over time, number one. And number two, are going to stay here forever. Number three, that we know that institutional money is going to start funneling heavily into, right? And when they do that, what follows? Well, traditional financial investors are going to start funneling capital into it, and then retail will follow, right? So we know that not only are they going to do well over time, they're going to be here forever. Personally, I think they're going to be here forever. And two, a lot of the institutional money is going to be funneled into them, right? Those are your, what do you call, your blue chip assets, right? And then next you have a few L1s. Ethereum, right? That's an L1. That's good. Pulse chain, historically speaking, L1s have done significantly well, right? Well, within the entire history of cryptocurrencies, L1s, historically speaking, have done significantly well. So you want one or two L1s in your portfolio. Jeff happened to pick the newest L1 that has been released, which is Pulse chain. And I know that we're biased towards the Richard Heart ecosystem environment, right? But we're thinking that Pulse chain is going to do really well. Phantom 2 is another L1 that's heavy into that retail is heavily invested into, right? There's venture capitalists obviously that have invested in Phantom, but Phantom for the most part is heavily powered by retail, right? So that's another good one. And then the smallest portion of his portfolio, right, are the more speculative assets, right? Hex, even though we like it, it's still a very highly speculative asset. And so is Dogecoin. It's a meme coin. It's a shit coin, right? Jeff went over some of the potential use cases for Dogecoin that might be implemented in the future if Elon Musk decided to implement them in Twitter, like as a way to tip people, as a way to make payments through Twitter, etc. But for now, it's still pretty much just a shitcoin, right? And so what Jeff here, what he has structured, even though he didn't go over it in detail, is actually a fairly good starter pack when it comes to creating a portfolio. The overwhelming majority of his capital is in those assets that are, which you would refer to as your blue chip assets, right? The ones that are going to be here for a long time, that have staying power, that it's going to do well, that the overwhelming majority of retail is going to invest into, and the overwhelming majority of institutional money is going to be invested into. And then a smaller percentage of his portfolio are the more speculative assets, right? As a new investor, do not make the mistake of flipping those things around. Don't invest 90% of your capital into shit coins and then 10% into Bitcoin. That's how you're going to get burned. And I guarantee you right now, some of us here have made that mistake in the beginning, and have fortunately lived to tell the tale. But we don't want you guys making that mistake here. So, take heed.
All right, cool stuff. So just I just wanted to give two sort of channel updates to take a look into the crystal ball to see what we have coming up around the corner. Two pretty cool things that we're excited to do. Number one is we're bouncing around the idea that we want to start live streaming for everybody. We have a tentative date. We're tossing around different ideas, but if you folks that are watching this want us to start live streaming as soon as possible, do us a favor, like the video, make sure you guys are subscribed, and make sure you comment in the video that you guys want us to start live streaming. Let us know that you guys want to start seeing our content live, and that will be able to that will allow us to get that information and to start using that platform a little bit sooner. Number two, this is a pretty cool idea that the group has come up with. I'm not sure if we're going to start it next week, but within the next, I want to say 2 Yeah, probably within the next 2 weeks, we are going to start having one subscriber, one follower, one fan of the show on the live shows with us. So if you guys want to be on the show, all right, there are 4 things that you guys need to do. All right, so each week, a different member of the panel is going to be responsible for selecting that individual. So for the first one, I'm going to be doing the first one. So what I need you guys to do, all right, if you guys want to be a live member on the show for the first time that we do this, I need you guys to, number 1, like the video. Number 2, comment on the video. Number 3, make sure you're subscribed. All right. And number 4 is you need to go on Twitter and you need to send me a DM on Twitter. All right. You guys can find my Twitter in the description below. You guys find me down there. If you guys want to be on the show, make sure you do those 4 things. All right. Like, comment, share, and make sure you guys are sending me a DM and letting me know that you guys want to be on the show. So like I said, I'll be doing it the first go around. We'll be launching it either next week or the week after. But go ahead and get those in, and then each subsequent week we'll be rotating it around. And yeah, it's a pretty cool concept that the group came up with, and we think that everyone will like it. So that being said, Nate, back over to you, bud.
Right on. Yeah, no, that's going to be something. Basically, we want more interaction with everybody who's watching, right? With us, this is with what we're doing right now is a video, recorded video of basically what we've already been doing in the chats with each other. And now it's like, this is the new thing. And then next evolution from there is like, hey, we're going to continue talking with each other about these things, but also for purposes for people to learn, right? We're going to be wanting to do this, like, say, live, where yes, you guys, right, you the viewers are able to actually like interact with us. Let us know, hey, you got any questions on, like, say, this scam coin, right? Right? Then maybe Jay can go over there and take a look at that 5-day coin. maybe you got to ask Billy, right? But basically that's the type of thing that we're trying to move towards a little bit more, is just more interaction with everybody. So yeah, when you go to comment that you would like to be a part of the Degen Roundtable. That allows us to kind of see, hey, this is kind of what's going on. And then, yeah, we would absolutely love to have some of, any subscribers or whatever on. That'd be really cool. And then like take questions and things that you guys might have too. Or if you're a Degen yourself, like obviously you're watching us, right? And you got something that you want to add, I think that would be really quite awesome. So I think we're done here. Does anybody have anything else to add? Okay. Well, if that is the case, then yeah, that wraps up the shitcoinery of Degen Roundtable. So we'll go ahead and we'll see you next week. Basically, what's going to be happening there is, like I said at the very beginning, the perfect storm is riling up, man. Our bags are going to be pumping, right? But hey, there's more information coming out. We're kind of gathering it all together, and it's like, you know what? Let's move it to next week. All right, next week we're going to be looking at that. So yeah, don't miss it, because like this perfect storm, if you want money, you're going to want to be watching us. All right, so peace.